gotta be a clicker, right? These things haunt my dreams. To the thumbnail then, I've got some references of shelf mushrooms, and using the model viewer from the game, which is awesome by the way, especially if you're getting stuff together for a painting, we're going to come up with a portrait of a clicker, combining our references and making it super gory. I want the whole piece to have like a yellowish green colour to it. I think that kind of fits with the colour palette that they use in the game, but we'll see what we can mix when we get to it. First I want to get a good idea of what's going on the canvas. I'm starting with the mouth shape. I kind of want it mid-click. We'll add some drool and things in as well when it gets to the painting. And looking at the model from the game, their top lips seem to have split right along the philtrum. And I love me some body horror, so we're definitely going to put that in. And we'll get an idea of the shelf mushroom. They have this thick sort of outer rim that runs its length. Put it all together on a framework, no eyes, they're all mushroomed over. And we'll keep that skeletal aspect to the face, as I can't imagine they're big snackers. The shroomy growths seem to explode from the centre of the face, which is gross. It looks a bit like a pine cone, I suppose, so we'll add our mushrooms in and place an arrow showing the direction they grow from. I've never really painted mushrooms before, so we'll use these arrows to dictate what direction our brush strokes will go in, and hopefully we'll get that illusion that they're bursting from the centre outwards. And we'll have the light source coming in from just over the shoulder, so we have one side that's in pretty dark shadow, just for dramatic effect. And that's the thumbnail. Needs a bit of refining, but it's a good base to start from. Let's get it on a canvas and get to mixing some paint. And it's just enough time for me to say, if you're enjoying this video, consider hitting like. It helps a lot getting my stuff out to the algorithm. Now back to the painting. With this painting we're going yellow ochre. That's going to do a lion's share of the work. Emerald green and sap green for the background. We'll put them off to the side for now. Some ultramarine so we can darken colours down for shadows. Cadmium red, just to knock the green down a few levels of chroma. Burnt sienna, because it's a sort of mushroomy colour, I think. I figure we'll mix it with the yellow ochre and see what it looks like. And finally, white. I'm going to mix 3 tones, a light, a mid and a dark, and we'll mix out from there when we need to, but it gives us a good baseline to start with. I've got to say, like, painting mushroom people is a new experience, so I'm not sure what I'm doing colour-wise, but we'll roll with it and see what we come up with. And these are our mixes, all ready to go. Canvas ready, paint ready, and we've got to start somewhere, so we're starting with the mouth. We'll go dark to light as we come outwards, and it gives that effect like we're looking down a hole. And then we'll paint the gums in. It's a good thing to get into when you're painting gums to shade a little darker where the teeth are going to sit. Though to be honest, it's a pretty rare occurrence that you'll be painting gums a lot unless you paint like loads of people screaming. Comes in sort of handy for animals though. Now let's work on the teeth. Almost pure yellow ochre for these. A man doesn't brush his teeth, not since the infection's set in anyway. And like the gums, we'll shade each individual tooth. It adds to that curved effect, and each tooth has an individual highlight. And that's just a dab of white in the yellow mix, and then straight onto the tooth. Now we can work on this mottled, gross skin. I'm using our light mix at the moment, and then I'm going to add a bit of burnt sienna, just to darken areas, like under the bottom lip. To get that mottled texture, I'm trying to be as random as I can with the brushwork, just dots and stabs. Always add a little bit of texture to skin, even if it's not sort of decomposing like this. It breaks it up so it's not too smooth. Unless of course that's kind of what you're going for. Working out from where we are, let's start getting the lower face in as a whole. For highlights, I'm building up to them and then dropping some really light, almost white on top and then texturing it in. Is that a term? Texturing? You know what I mean. We want our clicker to be pretty horrific, so we're going super dark under his cheekbone for that. And we want that for that emaciated look. And then we'll build up the cheekbone, so we have this idea of skin wrapped tightly over bone. For highlights, we'll use our really light mix and then texture it out, working it into the surrounding paint just so it's not so stark. And we've made it to the ear. I know a few artists who struggle with ears, and with good reason. They're an odd and sort of complex structure. A good thing to keep in mind is just really pay attention to what's going on with the different shapes. So we have that Y-shaped cartilage, and everything can be built from that if you're struggling with them. If all else fails, make your subject wear a hat. Now, I can truthfully say I've never painted a shelf mushroom growth thing before, so I'm going to try a technique where I use directional brush strokes to help get some form. I'm going from the centre, that dark line, and then we're going to pull the paint out, and we're going to get lighter and lighter as we head to the edge. And then on the outer edge, I'm going to add our light mix, as if it's catching a little bit of the light that's coming from behind. Yeah, that looks okay. I reckon that may work for the rest of them, so let's get them in. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with those. More pinecone than mushroom, maybe. What do you think? Let me know below. But everyone's got to start somewhere. I've lost our shadow edge against our burnt umber ground, so we're going to add the background in with a flat edge. And the flat edge is a perfect brush for this, because it's an easy brush to use for cutting in all the edges, but it's still able to cover a large area at the same time. Now our background's in, we can add our wispy hair, and this is just the light mix. And we're working from the scalp outward. We'll get progressively lighter by adding more white to the mix until we get what we're looking for. This sort of wispy, almost really thin hair. And adding the background in before this has its advantages here because we can work the hair into the green and that will make it look less thick, as if it's sort of slowly falling out. All that's left after that is getting the rest of it in. So we're going to go super dark under the chin. That's our dark mushroom mix with just a bunch of ultramarine. And then we'll get lighter as we come back round to where the light source is. I'm going to add in some stretched tendons too, so it looks like it's sort of mid-click, like it's screaming. And then a gross sort of khaki green colour for its shirt. And all that's left to do after that is sign it. And that's the finished piece. A clicker clicking away, trying to use echolocation to eat my face. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed this mashup of pixels and paint, consider subscribing and let me know what I should play then paint next in the comments below. Until next time, farewell.